The glow of the streetlights filtered through Yasmina Khan's bedroom curtains, casting a soft golden hue across the room. She lay on her bed, her phone clutched in her hand, its screen illuminating her furrowed brow. The digital clock on her bedside table blinked 11:57 p.m. She had been staring at her phone for hours, willing it to light up with a message, his message. But the notification never came. 3 days had passed since she last heard from Ian, the man who had, until recently, consumed her thoughts and lit up her days with his humor and charm. Their story had started like a modern fairy tale, with an innocent swipe right on a dating app. His profile had been intriguing, a picture of him holding a book in one hand and a cup of coffee in the other, paired with a bio that read, "An introvert who believes in deep conversations and midnight drives." It was simple, yet magnetic. And when they started talking, it was as though they had known each other forever. For weeks, their conversations had flowed effortlessly. They discussed their favorite books, debated over music genres, and laughed over shared memories of embarrassing moments. Yasmina couldn't remember the last time someone had made her feel so alive. It wasn't just about the words, it was the way he made her feel seen, as though she was the only person in the world who mattered. It had been a long time since she'd felt this way, and for once, she allowed herself to hope. But now, that hope felt like a cruel joke. Yasmina's last message to Ian, "Looking forward to seeing you on Friday. Let me know what time works best for you," hung at the end of their chat like a ghost of her optimism. He had seen it. Those 2 tiny blue ticks confirmed as much. And yet, there was no reply. On the first day, she gave him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he's busy, she thought. Work could be hectic, or he might be dealing with something personal. Yasmina had always been understanding, sometimes to a fault. But as the hours turned into a full day, she couldn't ignore the gnawing sensation in her chest. The rational explanations began to feel like excuses. By the second day, doubt had firmly planted its roots. Yasmina replayed every conversation they'd had, scrutinizing her own words for any misstep. Had she come on too strong? Was her excitement about their upcoming date off-putting? She hated how easily her mind turned against her, dissecting her actions as though she were the one to blame. On the third day, reality hit her like a tidal wave. She had been ghosted. The word itself felt absurd, so modern, so detached from the emotions it encompassed. But there it was, a bitter truth staring her in the face. Ian, the man who had once seemed so genuine, had vanished without explanation. No goodbye, no closure, just silence. The weight of the silence was suffocating. Yasmina couldn't understand how someone who had seemed so invested could disappear so easily. Was it all a game to him? Or had she misjudged him completely? The not knowing was the worst part. It wasn't just about the unanswered text, it was about the broken trust, the dashed hopes, and the vulnerability she had so willingly offered. Her friends had warned her about this. Dating apps are a minefield, her best friend Layla had said. People will ghost you at the drop of a hat. Don't take it personally. But how could she not? She wasn't some nameless profile or a fleeting interaction. She was Yasmina Khan, a woman with dreams, fears, and a heart that deserved more than a coward's silence. By the 4th day, Yasmina decided she had had enough. Sitting by her window with a steaming cup of chai, she made a decision. She wouldn't let Ian's silence define her worth. She scrolled through their chat one last time, her finger hovering over his name. With a deep breath, she hit delete contact. It wasn't an act of spite, but one of self-preservation. Keeping his number felt like holding on to a door that had already closed. Deleting it was her way of reclaiming her power, of reminding herself that she deserved better than someone who couldn't even muster the courage to say goodbye. That evening, she treated herself to the things she loved most. She visited her favorite cafe, indulged in a buttery croissant, and buried herself in the pages of a book that had been gathering dust on her shelf. She even called Layla, who offered a mix of sympathy and much-needed humor. Honestly, Yasmina, if he ghosted you, he's clearly blind. You're a catch, and some guy out there is going to be smart enough to see that. Days turned into weeks, and Yasmina found herself thinking of Ian less and less. She still felt the occasional pang of hurt when she remembered their conversations, but she no longer let it consume her. Instead, she focused on herself, on her work, her friends, and the little joys that made life beautiful. She learned to embrace the uncertainty of life, to find strength in her own company. One day, as she sipped her coffee at the same cafe where she'd once dreamed of meeting Ian, she felt a sense of peace wash over her. Ian might have ghosted her, but he hadn't taken her spirit. If anything, his silence had taught her an invaluable lesson. Never let someone's absence diminish your sense of self-worth. Yasmina Khan's story wasn't about a man who disappeared. It was about a woman who refused to let his absence define her. She was the star of her own life, and her journey was just beginning. The bedside table blinked 11:57 p.m. She had been staring at her phone for hours, willing it to light up with a message, his message. But the notification never came.